So WWE over the weekend released a couple people. I'm not using this as to inform you about it. I'm telling you to talk out my feelings a little bit. So pictures, copyright Google, got them all from Google, rightful owner. Let's start the releases. I'm gonna also be talking about a little fantasy booking. I got 9 people apparently, including a tag team in one of those 9. So let's start the video. We're starting with Duke Hudson. Uh, I can see why this happened, but I am so shocked we didn't get like a heel turn from him or Riley Osborne or uh, Andre Chase. Like did a triple threat and one on ones. I think you could have done that before you released him. Otherwise, I really only had him like in my fantasy world, kind of joining like if Chad Gable redid the Alpha Academy and he would be like the teacher instead of Andre Chase, and Andre would try to get back his classroom with Duke and Riley. It'd be a 6-man tag with American Made or maybe even Tozawa and Otis, but like that's not going to happen. I think he was a good talent, but I do realize being 6 years in development, not everybody's Angelo Dawkins who can survive. So, bye, Duke, and thank you. First and foremost, we know this guy's going to AEW and joining the Hurt Syndicate. But I don't know why they didn't go into the Javon Evans tag team a little bit harder. I think they would have been a good Fraxian match if not even winning the titles. I actually fantasy booked them to win the titles. They would win the titles. I don't know against two. They didn't really think that much. Even they can go against Fraxium. And Randy Orton comes over to NXT and he's like, "Oh, you were stupid for screwing up the move." Blah 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 blah. Cedric comes out to the defense, and it's Randy and Ray versus Cedric and Giovanni. They win the tag team titles, Ray and Randy, and they become Triple Crown champions in the tag team division. Both of them deserve it. Both of them are qualified to do it with the NXT tag team title, as we discussed in a previous video. Outside of that, I always thought Cedric was a good talent for a tag team champion. Her business did not live up to what it could be because I think that was WWE's fault. But he did great in everything he gave us, and I thank you. I also is he undefeated at WrestleMania because he only had one match at WrestleMania, or did, he had their battle royal like get eliminated. Hey, if you got that undefeated streak at WrestleMania 1-0, congratulations. But thank you, Cedric. Now, the authors of pain were previously fired many years ago, and Paul Ellering was the manager of another team, a legendary team. But I never really got into the what was their names? The Final Testament. Like they were cool. They beat. They hold on. Let's talk about this. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. They're the last ones to beat the White Six. Yeah, the Miz and Karrion Kross. I don't know if this is going to lead down like a year from now. We're going to give Karrion Kross a chance and he's going to fail or succeed at this point. But I really think that Kross needs to have a feud with the Miz at this point. Yeah, that's my talking point for ALP being released. Is Karrion Kross and the Miz have to have a match. But I do have another point I wanted to bring up. This happens a lot with WWE and it pisses me off. Why were you guys on Raw? You're former NXT and Raw Tag Team Champions. You got to go to SmackDown to win the Tag Team titles. I hear they have attitude problems backstage, so I don't think that's ever going to happen. So thank you, Akam. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, Rezar. I bet a lot of people don't know that her name is Blair Davenport. And I wouldn't blame you for that if you didn't watch NXT. I saw her in NXT. She was pretty good. I didn't expect her to be called up during the draft, though, because I was kind of afraid this was going to happen. And she wasn't being booked week to week. I'm like, oh no, they're just going to release her. She had a thing with Naomi on SmackDown. Correct me if I'm wrong. She's an Iron Survivor. She might be the first Iron Survivor champion, like ever, because the woman went first that year. I don't really have a lot to say. I always had her going back down to NXT. Like I fantasy book in my head, like she could be there mentoring the new generation, like Izzy Marino coming in, could have a good match with her. Obviously, that would be like 3 years from now because I think she should spend some more time on the Indies. I know how this is really bad that this became more about Izzy and not about Blair, but I just didn't see enough of Blair to have a really solid opinion. But you were good for what I did see, and I'm sorry that this happened. Thank you, Blair. All right, you're gonna have to give me a minute because this is the one that hurts. Out of everybody who got released, I am very upset that Sonya Deville got released. If you don't know, Sonya Deville is, and this doesn't matter anything with the release, it's just got me thinking. She's a month and a half younger than me, so that's a thing. I put her with the tag team title though because I always thought Pure Fusion Collection should win the tag team titles, and then one of them should do the I got somebody's gonna say I got a tag team partner, and one of them joins the other tag team partner like Cody turned on Holly, and the other two would try to get the titles, and it didn't work. I also thought of teaming her with Chelsea and Liv Morgan, and maybe having a tag team with Sonya Deville being mixed martial artists. They're also both lesbians. I know Sonya's a lesbian, and I just can't believe that for that reason that she got let go. Because WWE doesn't have a good LGBT community representative, as far as I know. Don't You can comment in the comment section if there is one. I don't want to get canceled for not saying that because I just don't know. Because the only other person I can think of is Shayna Baszler, and I even thought maybe Shayna and her could do something like to promote the LGBT community, like them being a tag team just because they're lesbians. Uh, yeah. Of course, my big thing would be a Ronda Rousey match, but Ronda left and now she's gone. Sonya, that is, and I thought she would be a lifer for WWE. She started on Tough Enough. That's why I had the Chelsea connection. Like I just threw out a bunch of random tag teams that she could have been in. Like, and then I would have had her win the Royal Rumble to get to Ronda in my fantasy booking, but and then win your world title. It hurts. It really does hurt. This one. This is the reason I've been really down, and this is the reason I made this video. I just wanted to talk. I could probably go on so much longer about Sonya, but we have to stop, and we have to get to the other people. Thank you, Sonya Deville. It's Isla Dawn. You may not know that's Isla Dawn because after she won the tag team title, she kind of really disappeared. Um, I think the WWE should have done the Nikki Cross, Piper Niven, Isla Dawn, Alba Fire thing. I have a good feeling with her release. We might get Kaylee Ray back, but if that's really the best that comes out of this, that's not a good thing. I was hoping like Alba Fire would do that in a Rumble match, the one I was at 2024. But I liked her. I mean, again, she's like the Blair Davenport that we talked about earlier. They didn't know a lot about her, but like this is why you don't call people up from NXT with no plan. If the plan was the NXT Tag Team Champions get called up to be fed to Ronda and Shayna, that's not a good plan, and they don't show up for a long time after that. I don't want to just continue to ramble. I'm just gonna say thank you, Isla, and move on. First and foremost, I want to say I'm a little irritated at this one for the reason that Karl Anderson is injured right now. But I guess they just, I don't know. Because I read a couple things on this, and this is why this one gets confusing to me. They said they want to retire in the WWE. I'm not saying that they won't be able to. I'm just saying that's going to be a lot harder now than it would have been because they're released. Well, so I'm going to just spoil the crap out of a bunch of storylines right now. I always thought, and I don't know if this will actually work better now that they're not on anyone's radar. CM Punk and AJ have a match, right? They're both faces. This is a pay-per-view, premium live event. I'm planning for Backlash, and the ref bumps, and AJ looks like he has pinned Punk, and Luke Gallows from the Straight Edge Society days screws over AJ. Karl Anderson screws him over in a tag team match on Raw on the pay-per-view. Now these two are with CM Punk. and you have the OC connection with AJ Styles that could have ran for a little bit. And I don't even know if this is a thing, but you guys remember Slam Master Jesse? Yeah, Luke Gallows was Festus. So I was always thinking I don't know, like CM Punk said he was drunk or something when they originally switched the character. I know that was a character change, but like him converting back to Festus and feuding with Karl Anderson, always saying to Jesse, "Ha ha ha, I got you. I always knew what I was doing." And then them having a cinematic match where Karl Anderson and Luke Gallows face Jesse and Festus, and Kane shows up. Another thing with Kane, really quick, since Luke Gallows played Kane, I did have a thought that would be really funny if Luke Gallows started to do that again, and Karl Anderson was like kind of like the Elias, Ezekiel, Kevin Owens thing, obsessed. Like, I gotta figure out who Kane is because that's not Kane. He thinks Glenn Jacobs is Kane, and they have a match at WrestleMania, and during the match he pulls off the mask, and then Luke Gallows beats him, or he's able to compose himself, and uh, Karl wins. But those are some stupid, fun little things because you had a fun sometime in wrestling that I would have done with these two. And thank you, Luke, and thank you, Karl. You're gonna be missed. You're my number two hardest to let go after Sonya. So if you count this as one entry, then my second's hardest to let go. But thank you again, OC. This is Giovanni Vinci. You may know him because he lost to Apollo Crews really quick. You may know him from Imperium. And the second he hit on Tiffany Stratton, Ludwig Kaiser's girlfriend, I think the writing was on the wall for this. So allegedly he hit on Tiffany Stratton, and he was removed from Imperium. He was removed and sent to SmackDown, and well, he wasn't used, and he got released. I hate to say this. When I heard about the Tiffany Stratton thing, though, I was like, this probably is my number one release for the year. If we're gonna have to have releases, I don't, I didn't want to say it, but like, it seemed like this guy might have had heat that would have led to this. I'm not gonna talk about him too much, but I did like myself some Imperium in NXT and on the main roster, and you were a good competitor, and I would like to say thank you, Giovanni. And finally, and I really hope this is finally, we have Elektra Lopez who got released today. That is February 9th. I'm sorry. It's just like these releases are getting to me. I would have put her in a tag team with Elektra Lopez and Raquel Rodriguez. Gonna have a female version of the LWO. I kind of thought that's where they were going when they brought Zelina to SmackDown, but I bet they won't even mention her being released on with the face turn of the Legado del Fantasma. I'm almost thinking Legado turns heel again, just because they don't have. I was actually thinking that anyway. They might be tweeners, but I'm not talking about SmackDown. I'm talking about Elektra. And she's somebody who also I did not get to see enough of in the ring, and I kind of really wanted to see enough of a little bit more about her in the ring. She's second generation. I don't know who her father is, but I do know the last name is King because I always was like my second idea for her was to team her with Ariana Grace, who would be Ariana Morella in this case, and Ava Reigns, who I would have as Ava Johnson, and turn her name into Elektra King, and do something like with the generations, and like they could take on Natalia, they could take on Carmella, they could take on Charlotte. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but Raquel Rodriguez is second generation too. Like, but you take on those people and you have a little fun with it. We're the generation. We're better than you. Obviously, none of my fantasy booking ideas are really out there now, but I wanted to make this video because I've been promising wrestling content, and this whole set me back with the releases. But I made this video. I got my feelings out. I am sorry. Oh, thank you, Alexa, by the way. Before I actually close this out, I don't think I thanked you yet. I'm sorry that everybody lost their jobs. Like, I don't know where I would be at without my job at the gym. I could talk more about the gym if you want, and every way that is positive. I don't really have any negatives about the gym that I work at, but yeah. I hope you guys land on your feet. I don't actually talk about that really much because I really don't know where anybody is going except for the obvious Cedric Alexander at this point. I feel like it would be weird if people go to TNA because of the connection with NXT, but some of these people might want to retire from wrestling permanently and do something else, and that's up to them. But I've been talking for over 15 and a half minutes, so I'm just going to sign out and say, again, thank you to every one of these superstars. I'm sorry that you lost your job. I hope you land on your feet, and stay nice for disability rights.